We've been talking about Sir Isaac, as I call him, throughout the trip, or at least today anyway. And we mentioned the fact that through his influence, an awful lot of other folks were influenced. I want to read just a little bit about the church here. This is Hopewell Church, Hopewell Baptist Church, and where it came from. And of course, it'll go right along with the other churches that we have been discussing today. Hopewell is a colony of Middletown Church. Of course, there it is again, Middletown Church. Some of its constituents were from Pennapeck Church in Pennsylvania, which we've seen this week. Morgan Edwards explains and says of Joshua Stout, the third son of Richard Stout of Homedale, which we've looked at, a constituent of Middletown Church, and who immigrated from Middletown in 1706, the first settler of Hopewell, and that's what this area is here. That 6 of his children are said to have gone to Pennsylvania for baptism. Others were baptized here at Hopewell. In all, 7 of his children were baptized. The church was organized in Mr. Stout's house on April 23rd, 1715, and worshiped for 32 years in the homes of the Stouts. The first meeting house was built in 1747 on a lot which was a gift of John Hart. And of course, this is the gravesite of John Hart, one of the signers of the Declaration of Independence. He donated this lot to the Baptists as they came in. The first pastor of this church was the Esquire Reverend Oliver Hart. And after a few years, Isaac Eaton became the pastor. And when he became the pastor, he believed that the Baptists needed a school in which to train their preachers. Morgan Edwards wrote about Mr. Eaton. He said he was the son of the aforementioned Joseph Eaton of Montgomery, Pennsylvania, and united with the Southampton Church in early life, and there commenced a licensed state in divinity at the same time with Mr. Oliver Hart. This plaque here is written in this book here. The front of this are deposited the remains of the Reverend Isaac Eaton, A.M., who for upwards of 26 years was pastor of this church, from the care of which he was removed by death on the 4th of July, do the math on that, 1772, in the 47th year of his age. Do the math on that. He was 47 years old when he died, and yet he was one of the most influential men of his day. The man, the Christian, the scholar, and divine. His funeral sermon was preached by Reverend Samuel Jones, who speaks of him to the following effect: the natural endowments of his mind, the improvements of these by the accomplishments of literature, his early and genuine piety, his ability as a divine and a preacher, his extensive knowledge of men and books would afford scope to flourish in a funeral oration, but it's needless. In other words, we could talk and talk and talk about how he studied, but we'd never be able to say all the things that needed to be said.
Just 3 years after the death of Isaac Eaton, on Sunday, April 23, 1775, news of the Battle of Lexington reached the worshipers at Hopewell Baptist Church. Stilling the messenger who brought the news, a man named Joab Houghton sat through the remainder of the services, and when they were ended, he passed out of the meeting house, and mounting this stone block that you see right here, he told the congregation of the cowardly murder at Lexington by the royal troops. His speech inspired the men with a love of liberty and a desire for independence. In closing, he said, "Men of New Jersey, the redcoats are murdering our brethren of New England. Who follows me to Boston?" Every man answered, "I." As a memorial of him and these events, this block was re-erected on July 4th, 1898, by the people of Hopewell.